Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Well, hello there.
I was wondering why your hood was up. Chris Carr is here.
Hi, guys.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you'd like to get a comment, thought, or question on the show, go ahead and throw it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on our show, we'll address it in the second part of the show. And here's the good news about the tip link. It's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to the John Campea Show in podcast form, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any of your favorite podcasting apps of choice, or if you're watching the show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can also send in a question and we'll just address it on the next day's show. All right, that down, guys. We got some stuff to get into, and let's start off with this. One of my most anticipated films coming up is James Gunn's Superman. I am an unabashed James Gunn fan. I think the guy is, I still think his best movie is Slither. I love that movie so much. Then what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, what he did with Suicide Squad, what he did with Peacemaker. I've just loved all of it. I just love this guy. And so I'm really looking forward to him taking over DC and launching the whole thing with this Superman movie. Well, today, a bit of information that had been rumored is now 100% official, and we even got our first picture of it. Krypto, the super dog.
Yes.
Whether or not Dwayne Johnson will be voicing him in the movie is yet to be confirmed, but Krypto, the super dog, will be in the new Superman movie, and James Gunn released this first image of Krypto. And first of all the iterations of Krypto, I think that's the most adorable Krypto.
Kind of looks like
He's so Muppety.
Yeah, it kind of looks like he went with a kind of a muddish kind of, you know, little mix.
Yes. Yes, and you know what? That makes sense when you hear James Gunn explain it. Because when he put up this picture online of the first look at Krypto, he also shared where Krypto came from. He said this comes to us from Variety, where James Gunn said the following on a social media post. Krypto arrives on screens in Superman this summer, Gunn wrote. Krypto was inspired by our dog, Ozu, who we adopted shortly after I started writing Superman. Ozu, who came from a hoarding situation in a backyard with 60 other dogs and never knew human beings, was problematic to say the least. He immediately came in and destroyed our home, our shoes, our furniture. He even ate my laptop. It took a long time before he would even let us touch him. I remember thinking, gosh, how difficult would life be if Ozu had superpowers? And thus, Krypto came into the script and changed the shape of the story as Ozu was changing my life. What a better time to debut the not-so-good good boy, Krypto, than hashtag Adopt a Shelter Dog Month. By the way, Ozu, today, is fairly often a very good boy. All right. So, I have thoughts. First of all, as a lifelong dog owner and current dog owner, I'm all for dogs. Keep the vile evilness of cats away.
That's ridiculous.
But I love dogs. And this dog looks completely adorable.
He looks like he's going to be a bit of a menace.
He does.
Especially by the description.
He does look like he might be a bit of a menace. So I think it's adorable. And you know what? Here's the thing. We knew early on that James Gunn was really going to embrace the golden comic book era age Superman and the tone of that. I mean, I think Krypto has been around in the comics since what, like 1959 or something, like a long time, has appeared in many of the comics and several of the animations. Hell, we even had a fully dedicated animated movie out recently with Dwayne Johnson voicing Krypto. However, I will confess, I'm a little nervous about this Because while I know there are a whole bunch of hardcores out there who like, if it's in the comics, then it should be in the movies. I'm not one of those people. I'm like, the comic book page is the comic book page. Some things work better on a comic book page. A movie or TV screen is a very different thing. And some things that work there may not work on a comic book page. Some things that work on a comic book page may not work here. And while I'm not sitting here saying, I want a dark, gritty Superman movie. I'm not saying that. I want seriousness in it, yes, but I also want joy, and I want the fun, and I want the color, and I want all that kind of stuff too. I just wonder if Krypto, the super dog, might be pushing that a little bit. Now, let me be very clear. I trust James Gunn completely, but I would be disingenuous if I didn't mention that I question this decision to have Krypto in the movie. I do. Now, I've questioned a lot of things in upcoming movies that once I saw the movie, I loved it, and maybe I will here too. But I'm just being honest. The decision to put in Krypto makes me a little bit nervous. Maybe it'll be perfect. Maybe it'll be a distraction. I doubt he's going to be a major part of the film.
Yeah, I think he's just going to be a little bit part.
Probably pop up here and there. Yes, probably going to be one of those
Like
things.
what they did with Cosmo.
What's that?
Like what they did with Cosmo over in Marvel.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know, Chris, you see this. What do you think about, number one, it's official that we're getting Krypto, and number two, our first look at him?
Well, I love the look of him because he looks like a regular-sized Gimli, my dog. It looks like if Gimli didn't get neutered too young, this is the size of what my dog would be, because I got him at 4 months and went, oh no, what did they do to you? And he has the behaviors of Trico, because Trico ate all of my streaming equipment when I first got him. Ate all my webcams and ate like 6 mics. It was great. I actually really enjoy this idea. I think this is great because there are some really amazing Krypto moments in comics that I think people forget about, because sometimes we think about, you know, the Secret Life of Super League Pets or whatever that name was, or, you know, the kind of throwback 1960s shows and everything. But he has some really cool, badass moments where he saves the day for Superman. There's a really great arc back in 2008, The Coming of Atlas, and that fourth part, Krypto really steps up because he's having this hard time battling Atlas. He's got to go off and find somebody who can help him with these magical powers. And Krypto goes toe to toe and has this really horrific fight, and really also wins over the people of Metropolis because they're all scared of this dog. Because not only is it a dog that could mess you up, it's a dog with superpowers that isn't particularly well trained. So there's a really fun amount of stuff you can do here with this character. My issue more so isn't about Krypto coming into the mix. He's just coming into something that's already a full Chex Mix movie, right? We already have Superman,
it's already
and the
in
Green
there.
Lantern, and Hawk Girl, and we have so much stuff going on in this already. And it does give me a little bit of pause to go, oh, we're just jumping into this world and everybody's already here. I thought this was a Superman movie. Is this really more of an ensemble piece? And my hope is that we're just fleshing out this world of going, look, you guys have seen superhero movies for the past few decades. You know who these characters are. Superman exists with them. We're fine. I'm just hoping we aren't dividing our time too much away from Kal-El, because I do want him to be the main focus. And I think him having his super pet makes sense. I'm just worried that there's already so many other people here in the mix that it might feel a little overwhelming, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I like something one of our viewers, Mighty Tank One, has said. It's a little dark, but I like it. He goes, this is the start of Kal-El Wick. What if the villain kills Krypto and that just sets off Superman?
Oh,
Look, I do want to address the one thing you brought up, because I think a lot of people, I've heard other people say, and I think a lot of people are wondering about how many characters are going to be in it. I like to go to, say, Ocean's 11, right? Ocean's 11 is a movie that clearly your main lead is George Clooney, and to a second degree, Brad Pitt. Then, of course, you have your Matt Damons and your Don Cheadles and on and on and on, right? But it was still very clearly they were the two main leads, even though you had literally about a dozen other characters in the movie. The only difference between a movie like, say, Superman and Ocean's 11 is that you are familiar with the names of the other secondary characters. Every movie will have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 secondary characters, and it's perfectly fine. But when it comes to a superhero movie, because we recognize those other names, we get worried that the movie's going to feel overcrowded or overfull. And I think as long as they balance it right, I think that's what you're alluding to.
Yeah.
As long as they balance that right, it will still definitively be Superman's movie with a collection of secondary characters that we just happen to recognize.
Exactly. I feel like it's like when you're playing a really great video game, and I don't mean to equate these incredible characters to NPCs, but they help establish the reality that you're trying to set. And I think that is what we're doing here, is having, hey, this is the world, this is how this lives, this is how these superheroes interact. That's my hope, at least.
Yeah. Now, how will a dog fit into that?
Beautifully. Perfectly.
I hope so. I hope you're right. Again, I completely trust James Gunn, but I'm just going to admit, I got to be honest, it makes me a little bit nervous. But we'll see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It is an adorable picture. By the way, that picture of Superman Krypto, that's directly from a comic frame. James Gunn also shared the comic frame that this was the inspiration from, where the two are just sitting on the moon, looking at the Earth. It's like directly lifted from the page of the comics. Anyway,
and I
guys,
wonder if this is even in the movie, because he's been doing like still photography. That's not necessarily...
I don't think this is in the movie.
Yeah.
I think this is just a promo shot, but who knows? Might be there.
Beautiful.
Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Two different things. Number one, what do you think about the fact that this Superman, like in the comic books, will indeed have a Krypto? I'm not sure how I feel about that. But secondly, what do you think about the image? I do know how I feel about the image. I think it's adorable. But anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. I'm already seeing some angry comments that dog better live. Or are they going to John Wick it? I don't know.
No.
All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, this has been a great year for animated film already. And we have some others still on the way. The #1 box office film of the year is, of course, Inside Out 2. Very quietly, like a thief in the night, the new Despicable Me has crept very close to the $1 billion mark itself. And then we've got like great movies like Transformers 1 is out, even though it's flopping, but it's out there. The Wild Robot is out there doing well. Well, very quietly, something has happened this weekend that has never happened in box office history. And no, we're not talking about a comic book movie that dropped over 81% on its second weekend, although that was also a first in box office history. But in the top 10 of the box office this weekend, and this has never happened before, 5 of the top 10 films at the box office are animated films. 5 of them. It's never happened. Very rarely will you even have 5 animated films out at the same time, let alone 5 of them taking up half of the top 10 spots at the box office. As we go over and take a look at the box office chart. So at number 2 is The Wild Robot. Then the new Piece by Piece, the Lego one, at number 5. Transformers 1 at number 6. The My Hero Academia at number 8. And the re-release of Nightmare Before Christmas. That took in $2.4 million. Good enough for number 9. 5 movies. Now, I do, before we get too terribly excited, looking at these numbers, will point out the obvious. It's a pretty low box office week. I mean, it's not like we have 5 of the top 10 and they're making 40 million, 20 million, 18 million, 17. They're making 2.4 million, 3 million, 3.8 million, Transformers 1 at 3.7 million, and then Wild Robot up there at 14. So I do just want to keep it in context. It's not like the animated films that are out right now are blowing the doors off. But in a year again, where 2 of the top 3 or 4 films of the year, including the number 1 is an animated one. Not to mention, we still got Mufasa coming out. We still got Moana coming out. We still got War of the Rohirrim coming out. Like we're going to get even bigger box office coming out this year. Chris, what significance, particularly like for you as a voice performer as well, what kind of significance do you take away from the fact that like this is the first time in history we got 5 films in the top 10 that are animated? How do you see this?
Good storytelling is good storytelling, no matter the packaging, no matter the genre that you're going towards, no matter the medium, as long as you were telling a good story that can captivate and connect with your audience, that's what matters. And I think a lot of times people sleep on stuff. I think also people wildly underestimate how well these kinds of re-releases and these anime screenings do too. These have huge audiences. Also, though, make sure you're paying your anime actors actual money. That'd be cool, studios. But I think that's the big thing, is these are stories that people really, really connect to. I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas is just a classic. We love seeing it at spooky time. We love seeing it Christmas time. Wild Robot is a gorgeous story that has so much more to say about parenthood than anything. I mean, it's visually a feast too. Oh my gosh, it's one of the prettiest things that's ever been out there. I still need to drag Logan to it. It's so stunning. I mean, these are really, really wonderful humanistic stories that happen to be animated. And I think too, they also have reasonable runtimes. I know that's a really silly thing to bring up, but I think a lot of times too, when you're trying to squeeze in a movie, it's so much easier a lot of times to see something that is under 2 hours when you go to theaters.
Especially if you're bringing a family with you.
You're bringing your family. You got 30 minutes at least of trailers. You've got all the advertisements ahead of time too. I know that's kind of a silly reason for it, but I think that also does factor in when you're planning this stuff, especially with the plethora of options you have on streaming. Why am I going to go take the whole family for this 4-hour outing when I could be home here where we have snacks and juice boxes? So there's a couple different factors, but I really do feel like ultimately it just comes down to, these are great stories. And if you can get over, I know we've talked about this on the show, people doing the, oh, I don't know if I should go see a kid's movie by myself. It's not a kid's movie. It just happens to be animated and it's beautiful. So just let yourself see it.
I also don't understand that logic of like, oh, I might be the creepy old man. Like, you're in a dark theater watching a movie. Everyone's like, what's the problem
You
here?
have to do other things to be the creepy old
what's
man.
the problem here of sitting passively and enjoying a movie?
Yeah. I love going to movies by myself. I think it's one of the best. And that way you have that shared experience of, oh my gosh, I'm in a room with complete strangers and we have the same sense of humor in this moment. Or, oh my gosh, we're both getting choked up at the same thing.
Yeah.
And when it's in a theater too, where you hear all the kids reacting to something and the parents reacting to something, that's stunning.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier. It's like a good movie's a good movie. And a good story. Again, movies are experiential events. And if they deliver the experience, they deliver the experience. And for the first time ever. Now, when will this happen again? I don't know. Again, it's not very often that we even have 4 animated films that are actually out in theaters at the same time, let alone 5 to be in the top 10. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think there's any significance to it? If there is, what's your takeaway? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? My second favorite day of the year, other than Christmas, is Oscars. Has been that way for a long time. I love the Oscars. More than my own birthday, more than my own wedding anniversary. I love the Oscars. I think Christmas Day is the only day that I put above it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. And so I'm always very interested in finding out like who's going to be hosting the Oscars this year, because who hosts the Oscars often sets the tone for the Oscars. Last year, I thought Kimmel did a really good job hosting last year. It wasn't like a top 5 greatest hosting thing ever, but who's going to host it this year? There was a rumor going around a little while ago that I honestly didn't give much credence to, even though I thought it would have been awesome, that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman could potentially host the Oscars. Well, Deadline is now giving credence to that, as their headline reads, Oscar host search is on and Deadpool and Wolverine are in the mix. Now, they go on to say there's a couple of other names being looked at. Amy Poehler, who of course, her hosting other award shows, particularly Golden Globes with Tina Fey, is some of the best hosting of award shows we've ever seen. Will Ferrell is a name that everybody likes. Will Ferrell, so that's another thing that's been out there. They've also been talking about how they might possibly be looking at having like multiple hosts, like one host does the first 40 minutes, another set of hosts does the next whatever minutes. I mean, they're looking at different strategies right now, but whether they go with one host, one set of hosts, multiple hosts, Deadline is confirming that the couple of guys they're looking at is Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. Now, first thing that should be pointed out is Hugh Jackman has hosted the Oscars before. I think it was 2009. And he was great. He was a wonderful host because he is a song and dance man. He did that big opening number and everything. Everybody likes Hugh Jackman. The idea of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, first of all, Ryan Reynolds is another one of those guys. He's impossible not to like. He's one of the biggest stars in the business right now. And Deadpool and Wolverine is, I think, still the second biggest box office film of the year. Highest grossing R-rated film of all time by a significant margin. And these guys together have been the social media darlings for years. Like, their faux feud on social media has made being on social media worth it for years. They're quick-witted. They're likable. They're multi-talented. I mean, I didn't know Ryan could do the song and dance thing too until he did that Christmas movie, Spirited, which was actually pretty good.
They're
I
also,
love that
they're
movie.
also a huge reason why the theater industry was resuscitated this year.
Absolutely.
So,
Oh, 100%.
not just Marvel. Like,
So completely likable, good at this kind of stuff. The two of them together on stage, as long as you let them rip, if you just let them go, I think it could be fantastic. Look, and I've always said this, as much as I like the job that Kimmel did last year, and I did, there's still something to me about the biggest night of the year in the movie industry being hosted by movie industry people. That I call me crazy. I mean, not that there haven't been comedians or other things like that haven't done good jobs. They have. There's just something nice about the idea of actual movie people hosting the biggest night of the movie industry. Yeah. It doesn't get too much bigger than Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. And so I don't know if this is going to happen. You know, one of the things that the Deadline article Chris points out is that Disney is angling to push Ryan Reynolds for Best Lead Actor and Hugh Jackman for Best Supporting Actor, and does it. Let's be honest, neither of them are actually going to get a nomination.
No.
So that, I don't think that should be an issue.
Sorry.
Also, there could be some roadblocks. A lot of people in the past number of years who've been up to host the Oscars suddenly find themselves having a target painted on them and people coming at them with digging up 15-year-old social media posts or things they said in a comedy special 12 years earlier or whatever, and just finding themselves being, again, having a target painted on them. That might be something that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds may not want. But listen, I love that this is actually a real thing that could happen, and I really hope it happens. Again, Tina Fey would be amazing, or Amy Poehler would be amazing. I think Will Ferrell would do a great job. I would also love to see John Mulaney someday do it. He said he won't do it this year, but he's kept the door open to do it later on. But I would love this. Chris, what do you make of this? And could it actually happen?
It could absolutely happen. And I think Disney posturing the two of them for acting nominations only fuels the fire of them having stuff to talk about of. You know, Iger wanted this for us. Can't be that powerful.
Right.
Like, you can just do a whole bunch of jokes right there that are super in Ryan Reynolds' wheelhouse. As far as the unearthing aspect, too, of digging out those skeletons in closets, not to get super TMZ, but Blake Lively has had a not-so-great PR run, and people have been pulling up old interviews from her Gossip Girl days, things like that. I think people would have already done that with Ryan at this point. Same thing with Hugh Jackman. He's gone through a divorce this past year, and people were speculating as to why that ended. And I feel like that's another thing where they would have dug. So I feel like both of them are in pretty good positions to put themselves out there. They have great chemistry. Hugh has a live show that he's doing in Rockefeller Center, so he definitely wants to promote himself as a song and dance man. Ryan loves the hell out of him and is great at this kind of stuff.
Oh, and Hugh Jackman, they just announced him and Kate Hudson are doing, just signed up to do a
musical movie.
That's right.
Yeah,
they signed up for that too.
I mean, this would be great self-promotion for them. Ryan Reynolds does have a lot of anxiety, and I wonder about him doing live performance on a long and scale. But I feel like, you know, Hugh Jackman's basically his thunder blanket, you know? I mean,
Thunder blanket.
yeah.
The thing I wonder about, like with Ryan Reynolds, you brought up Blake. He's incredibly protective of Blake.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that might deter him from doing something like this is, if people can't put a target on him, they may try to get at him by targeting Blake even more and going after his wife or his family. The Hugh Jackman thing is really interesting because they did something so smart. Because again, like Hugh Jackman's marriage was one of those Hollywood ones that I just figured would last forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one of the smartest things ever done was the joke about his divorce in Deadpool and Wolverine. Because I feel like that joke they did about Hugh's divorce in that movie completely took any wind out of sails. Like, it, to me, that ended the whole discussion. There's nowhere left to go. They joked about his divorce themselves in front of millions of people. It's a non-story anymore. I thought that was a brilliant thing because no one's ever talked about Hugh Jackman's divorce since then. They made the joke, totally took the air out of it, and I think it would be easier for Hugh to do it than Ryan, though.
Oh yeah.
But I would love to see them both.
I would love to see the two of them do it, and if all else fails, just get the Muppets. That's my answer to everything.
All else fails, get the Muppets or Krypto.
Or Krypto.
You would have thrived in like the mid to late 70s.
Jonathan, I think about it every day.
I was
like,
peak
I was
Muppet.
born such at the wrong time. Oh, my hair would have made more sense. It all would have been great.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? I listen, I'm not going to lie. I would completely love to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. First of all, I just love to see the two of them on stage together for a prolonged period of time. But seeing the two of them, actual movie personalities, hosting the Oscars, I think it would be fantastic. I have my doubts it would actually happen, though. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got a couple of other things that we need to talk about here, including, you know, there's a whole bunch of actors these days who are directors saying, oh, I shouldn't do Marvel stuff. Harrison Ford just came out and said, that's nonsense. We're going to talk about his comments there. Also, Venom 3 is targeting a $70+ million opening, which puts it in like the Godzilla versus Kong kind of air. And a Marvel artist and writer, the creator of Null, who had kind of been griping about this movie, has now seen it and said people are going to lose their minds over it. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick minute here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. I love these guys and their products, the good folks over at Mando. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mando. Guys, I've got to tell you about something that changed my whole body care game. Mando Whole Body Deodorant. Now, I first heard about Mando last year when they offered to become a sponsor of the show, and I was honestly skeptical. I mean, a deodorant can't really control odor for 72 hours, can it? But after using it myself, I am a believer. You can use it anywhere on your body, and I mean anywhere. It's clinically proven to keep you smelling fresh for up to 72 hours without any irritation. I'm loving the Clover Wood scent, but they've got options like Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and even unscented if you prefer to go stealth mode. I like to use it after the shower, before the gym, or even important meetings. It's that reliable. And right now, Mando's got a killer deal. New customers get $5 off their best-selling starter pack with my exclusive code CAMPEA. That's over 40% off. Just go to shopmando, that's shopmando.com, and use the code CAMPEA. Seriously, guys, if you want a deodorant that's aluminum-free, baking soda-free, and just works better than anything else you've tried, it's time to make the switch to Mando. So don't wait. Control body odor anywhere with Mando. Head over to shopmando.com and use the code CAMPEA and get $5 off your starter pack. Trust me, you're going to love it. That's at shopmando.com. Go and check it out now. And thank you to our friends at Mando for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, whenever something big comes along, there are always going to be people that try to chop it down. And we've all done it. Come on, don't lie. We've all done it. Anyway, with Marvel kind of being the de facto juggernaut of the box office world for at least going on a couple of decades now, eventually a bunch of actors and some directors, when asked about it, kind of come out and have kind of poo-pooed it, which I've never understood. So I wouldn't want to do a Marvel movie. I wouldn't want to do one of those things. Notably, we won't name names, but an actor who's actually in a couple of those called it clown work and all that kind of stuff.
And is back for more.
And they're back for more. I'm not going to name names, but you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, you do. So anyway, one such actor that I was kind of surprised to hear was joining the MCU was legendary iconic actor Harrison Ford. And he was kind of recently asked about coming into the MCU and stuff like that. And I thought he made a brilliantly worded statement about the whole notion of other actors not wanting to do Marvel movies and stuff like that. He said this comes us from Variety. Speaking to GQ magazine, Ford said it would be silly to avoid Marvel when it's something moviegoers have clearly responded to for years now. He said, I mean, this is the Marvel universe and I'm just there on a weekend pass. I'm a sailor new to this town, Ford said about his MCU debut. I understand the appeal of other kinds of films besides the kind we made in the 80s and 90s. I don't have anything in general to say about it. It's the condition our condition is in. And things change and morph, and we go on. We're silly if we sit around regretting the change and don't participate in it. I'm participating in a new part of the business that, for me at least, I think is really producing some good experiences for an audience. And I enjoy that. By the way, he went on and said this. Some directors like Quentin Tarantino have claimed that the rise of Marvel has contributed to the death of the movie star, as actors like Chris Evans are more associated with their superhero characters than they are movie stars. Asked about the death of Hollywood movie stars, Ford said, "Oh, I think it's rubbish. I don't think the question is whether or not there are any movie stars. There's wonderful actors coming up every day. Whether or not they become movie stars is really not the point. If movies need stars, they'll find them. I've never fucking understood being a movie star. I'm an actor.
Oh, he's getting heated.
I tell stories. I'm part of a group of people who work together to collaborate on telling stories. I'm an assistant storyteller. That's what I am."
Hell yeah, man.
I love that.
I'm assistant to the storyteller.
I love that statement. Like Harrison, and especially coming from a guy who's such a get off my lawn kind of guy right now. But I love the fact that he just pointed out something. It's like, wait a minute. Movies change. I heard Anthony Hopkins talk about this once too. He said, listen, the types of projects and things we did in the 1960s were very different from the ones that we ended up doing in the 70s. The industry changed. And then it changed again in the 80s and changed again in the 90s. And sometimes when I hear these actors who unprovokedly want to come out and take shots at popular cinema, it's always made me scratch my head. And I love the fact, my favorite part about this statement is that basically what Ford is saying is like, there are things that are bringing the audience joy. There are things being made here that the audience is having a wonderful time with and a wonderful experience at. Why would we crap on that? Why would we not want to be a part of that? Listen, and I've always got it. Like if there's an actor who doesn't want to say be in a slasher film because you know what? They're very sensitive about the whole concept of murder and killing people and blah. Oh, okay, I get that. That's a personal sensitivity. But this whole notion of, oh, people love this, well, then I don't want to be a part of it. Like that's always struck me as very weird. And I love the fact that we've got a statesman like Harrison Ford coming out and calling it out. And I really like it. And I cannot wait to see him as Thunderbolt Ross. You see, Marvel, you can take a character and replace the performer if tragically the performer who played them previously died. See? Anyway, Chris, you read Harrison Ford's comments here. As a performer yourself, what did you take away from this?
Oh, I love this so much. One, I love the idea of Harrison Ford saying the word silly and rubbish in his gruff voice, followed by a fucking ridiculous, just doing all his finger pointing. I love him so much. This is exactly how actors should be. You are vessels of vulnerability. You are of service to story. You are an assistant to the writers and directors and all of things. Story is first. All of those things. Celebrity is so last in all of that. And I love that he still has that mentality. And also, you're going to talk to Harrison Ford about actors being only identified by the characters they've played and how that's a new thing. How many people are like, oh yeah, Han Solo. Oh yeah, Indiana Jones. That's how people identify him. And sure, he is a movie star, but that's still part of the package that comes with it of, oh yeah, I know him from this. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's that guy from The Fugitive.
Yeah, it didn't stop him from doing The Witness or
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah,
regarding
I always
Henry.
thought that comment was really weird because like to Chris, to your point, like it's like, oh, like people just see Chris Evans, they only identify him with that now. Well, that's the way it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
When an actor comes out and has like some massive smash hit, particularly if that massive smash hit is one of the first things people have seen them in, like ask Mark Hamill. Like when people bumped into him in the street, do you think what was that anime one where he's like the part robot. He was in one of those and it was horrible, like way back in the day.
Oh.
Or I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Somebody, Guyver. Thank you, that dude, Vince. Like nobody goes, you're the Guyver guy. Like it's always been that way. And Marvel are just huge. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, exactly. Though no one's running up to him being like, "Oh man, that Corvette movie you did with Annie Potts, that really put you on the map for me."
Oh, come on, Corvette Summer.
Corvette Summer is fun though.
They filmed that at my old high school, Burbank
really?
High. When he's in the machine shop, I'm like, I've been in there.
That's great. Check out Corvette Summer, honestly. It's fun. But I mean, yeah, you always identify this actor by the thing they're known by. And then you have that opportunity of going, oh my gosh, Chris Evans. Yeah, he's Captain America. Did you see him in Defending Jacob? He is incredible in that series. Oh my gosh. It's just an opportunity for these actors to then flex, to your point about how Harrison Ford then goes on to do Witness and all these other incredible things, or so outstanding work in Shrinking now. I think that it is odd to just poo-poo other people's work in general anyway. If something's not for you, that's fine. That doesn't mean it's not for anyone at all.
Right.
I am not a big fan of the horror genre. I have definitely auditioned for those films, and you know what? Your girl is a shill, and she would absolutely be a scream queen. I don't care. I like money. But I know there are other actors, to your point, who would go, hey, I really don't want to be in this, or, oh, this really doesn't jive well with me. That's fine. But if somebody else takes that job, you don't then shit on that person for taking the job.
You know, I thought they should say,
It's
like,
odd.
if a performer's asked about something like said, hey, like, would you ever consider being in a Marvel film? If you yourself don't like comic book movies and you find that kind of silly, whatever, here's your answer. You know what? There's never been a part that's been a good fit for me that's ever presented itself. And hey, if something ever does that I think speaks to me and I'm a good fit with, someday I'd consider it. That's an easy way. Like, even if your head, you know, I'll never be in that. Instead of crapping on other people's work and instead of crapping on things other people find joy in, why not just say, you know, I've never seen a role that's come up that I think has been good for me. But if it ever did, maybe it's something we'd think about.
Exactly. 100%.
Look at someone who's younger, right? Like Daniel Bruhl. I mean, he's done incredible movies. Indie films. He did the
Oscar nominations.
Nominations. I still love watching him dance as Baron Zemo.
Oh my God, it's so
It's
fun.
still the best thing ever.
I love it.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about these comments from Harrison Ford, a guy who, quite frankly, I never would have thought I'd hear these types of comments from, but here he is talking about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him as Thunderbolt Ross. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Venom 3, The Last Dance, is coming up quickly upon us now. It's literally just days away. For those of you who watch my show, you know that I love the Venom films. I love the first one. I enjoyed the second one. The second one was a step down for me, but I still enjoyed it. I have a great time. I never knew how I would like Tom Hardy in the role, but man, I have loved him in the role. And I'm very excited about the third one. I think the trailers have been great, and I'm all kinds of excited. A lot of people didn't. That's fine. But now we've got a couple of interesting things going on here. Number one, the box office, now that we're getting closer, new projections are coming out, and they're now saying that the box office of this thing could be a $70 to $80 million opening, which, to put that into perspective, that puts it into the realm of your Godzilla versus Kongs, your Despicable Me's, your stuff like that. Now, just for other point of reference, Godzilla vs. Kong went on to make over $500 million at the box office. And I know Sony is particularly looking forward to Venom hopefully doing much better than, say, I don't know, Madam Web or, say, Morbius did. And I think it's probably a foregone conclusion that it will. So it is looking like it's tracking very well. And if the first reactions start coming out and they're positive, it could inch up even further. So that's good. But now, speaking of first reactions, in this realm, what has kind of become commonplace over the last couple of years is that when some project is coming out, somebody who has been at least in some way connected to that IP previously coming out and crap talking about it. We've even seen it in comic book things. So there have been projects, comic book projects coming out where former writers or artists or whatever come out before the movie even comes out and like crap talk on it. And it kind of looked like that was happening with Venom as well. As Marvel writer and artist Ryan Stegman, the guy who created Null, came out and talked about, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I didn't even know they were putting my character in their movie. And it sounded kind of negative. Well, now that same guy has been shown the movie and he's given us our first reaction to the film. And it's pretty good. This comes us from MovieWeb. Ryan Stegman, who has written for several major Marvel characters, including She-Hulk, X-23, Spider-Man, and Venom, co-created the God of Darkness and symbiote creator Null in 2018 with writer Donny Cates. The pair recently took issue with the upcoming Venom 3, revealing that neither of them even knew their character would appear in the movie. It seems that their criticism may have reached the Sony desks, with Stegman revealing that he has now seen the movie and sharing this reaction. Remember, this is the creator of Null. I just saw Venom: The Last Dance. It's wonderful. You guys are going to lose your minds. Null, baby. A little bias there. He created Null, of course. I just saw Venom: The Last Dance. It's wonderful. You guys are going to lose your minds. Again, I find this interesting because this is somebody who had previously sounded a little bit critical towards the project. And Sony, I like this, gang, you know what? Instead of just dismissing you, we would like to show you the movie. Why don't you come on in and watch the movie? And I love hearing them then coming out of the movies, you know what? I just saw it. It's wonderful. And you guys are going to lose your minds. Now, I want to emphasize this. This is one guy, one individual who's saying it's wonderful and that we'll lose our minds. It's not a collection of 80 or 100 other critics, or it's one person whose movie tastes may not align with mine and may not align with yours. Just because they think it's wonderful doesn't necessarily mean I will or that you will. So I do want to keep that in mind, keep that in perspective. But Chris, for me, as somebody who very much wants to like this Venom film and who is excited about seeing it, I do like hearing somebody who had expressed some critical thoughts about it now coming out and saying that they love it. I like that personally. It makes me a bit excited. I know you are like the #1 fan of Venom out there. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about this? And now that it's actually close, what do you think we're going to see as terms of box office, audience response, all that kind of stuff?
Oh man, thank God he's on board. I'm so excited about that because he's such a crazy character to take on and put in film. He's an eldritch god connected to the symbiotes. Like, that's bananagrams to try to convey to your audience who is an average non-comic book reading audience.
Right. Yeah.
And luckily, the world of Venom has been established to be this weird, gross, fun kind of thing. I love that he's excited about this. And I do think there's a lot of potential for this to be a big box office film. The second one, like you, I didn't love as much. I did put a lot of kind of hope and expectation into that just because Cassidy is such a crazy kind of character. And that fell a little flat for me. But I think the trailers have been just so fun for this. We keep gearing up for it to be the last ride of Venom. You know, this is the end of this story, yada, yada, yada. Or is it because of all the other connections and all? So I feel like you've got a combination of all of your hardcore comic book fans now going, heck yeah, Null done right. I do want to see that on screen. You got your people who just really enjoy the Tom Hardy interpretation of this. I'm always floored by how many people don't understand that he voices Venom.
Yeah. That's, I literally had somebody last week asking me, John, I love the dynamic between Venom and Eddie too, but who does the voice of Venom? Tom Hardy.
Yeah, he's crushing it. He does such a good job. You thought all that Bane mask stuff was all his fault? No, no, it wasn't. I think this has the potential to do really well as long as they keep up a great marketing campaign and keep giving us little tidbits like this. This is smart. Hey, did you have doubts about where this movie was going, especially after that second one? Well, the creator of one of the most badass villains of all time is super on board with our film. Go to the cinema right now.
It's going to be interesting to see. Again, I am very curious to see the first reactions, which are going to be coming soon. The first reactions to the film, see how they line up and pair up. Because again, the Venom films have not been critically loved, right? Like this is one of those movies where the audiences seem to like it more than the critics did. The critics have not always been particularly friendly towards Venom. Even like some friends I know, I heard from them who saw Venom before I did the first Venom. I'm like, oh, it sounds like maybe it didn't turn out so good. And then I went to go see it. I'm like, what the living hell are you guys talking about? This movie's so much fun.
It's so fun.
So it'll be interesting to see those first reactions. Now, the other thing I want to keep in mind too is like for Sony, they really need this right now.
Yeah.
Now, I am not saying that Venom 3 is going to be a big box office hit. It's definitely going to breathe a lot more financial air into the lungs of Sony than Madam Web and Morbius did. And listen, for all the criticism that Venom 2 gets, again, I still liked it. I had fun with it, but it was not as good as the first one. It still made over $500 million. So I think if this one is good, and if the response is good, if the early word is good, if the word of mouth is good, I think there's no reason to believe that this one couldn't possibly also be. Now, I'm saying all this having not seen the movie. I may totally change my mind once I do, but I don't think there's any reason to believe this one couldn't also cross that $500 million mark. And that is something Sony really needs with this universe right now.
They do. Do you think if this is successful, this will have any impact on moving the needle for Craven, or do you think that's a totally separate thing?
Okay, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
If Venom is really good, it does give a little momentum to Craven. So there's two stories here. There's the upside story and the downside. So the upside story is if Sony can put out a crowd-pleasing, like they have before, a crowd-pleasing, fun, and successful Venom film, that pushes up the momentum going into Craven. They can utilize that from the people who gave you Venom and blah, blah.
Only Venom. And don't worry about anything else.
Don't worry about any of the other things. Nothing to see here.
And they were really not cool with Madam Web.
Yeah.
Definitely not from the writers of Madam Web and Morbius comes Craven. But here's the thing. There's the downside to it. Because a good, successful Venom will help Craven. A bad flop, like bad, critics and audiences don't like it, and flop Venom can by far more hurt Craven. Because that just builds on the narrative of Madam Web, Morbius, Venom 3, right?
I mean, they've got a DCEU thing going on right
now. Yeah.
Well said.
Like in the one of the great all-time movies ever made in history, Best of the Best. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. Like winning cures everything, losing tends to beget losing. So yeah, I think it can help Craven, but it can also hurt it. So it's a double-edged sword a little bit. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? A guy who had formerly been a little bit critical of this whole project, the creator of Null, has now seen the film and says it's wonderful and we're gonna lose our minds over it. It is just one guy with one opinion. We'll see what happens when the early reactions come out. How do you think it's going to do? They're projecting 70 to 80 million opening weekend. Do you think it can hit that? Do you think it'll exceed it? Come way below. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, we're now going to move on to the main part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to hear from another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at the Dollar Shave Club. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Dollar Shave Club. Hello there, my fellow handsome gentlemen. Nice face you shaved there. Whether you're going smooth shaven or maintaining a beard, Dollar Shave Club offers shave and grooming products that are always high quality, but never overpriced. If you like to wet shave for that clean, close shave, they've got the Club Series 6 Blade Razor, a shave so comfy your skin will take a nap. 6 stainless steel blades for our closest and most comfortable shave, with a vitamin E infused lubricant strip for comfort and glide and precision trimmer for precise detailing. Their amazing shave butter, clear view, smooth glide, designed for precision. Shave butter is a translucent shaving cream alternative that allows you to see exactly where you're shaving. Bonus, it has long-lasting lubrication that helps soften whiskers for maximum glide and leaves your skin feeling hydrated. But don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off, $20 or more, and get your products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/Campea and use promo code Campea for 20% off, $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome. And thank you to our friends at the Dollar Shave Club for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the main and important stuff here. Your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. Jonathan, what do we got up first?
Paul Dean says, "Hi, Campea crew. No spoilers, but I loved episode 4 of The Penguin. After seeing the backstory for Sophia, I'm a little on her side now. I really felt for her. As always, her performance was brilliant. Bring on the filthy."
It's not just about being a little on her side. I brought this up yesterday. One of the great things about Penguin is that a lot of these movies and shows that kind of look at it from the bad guy's point of view, they always make the bad guy out to be not so bad. And they make the bad guy out, oh, he's really more of an anti-hero, or he's just misunderstood. Penguin hasn't done that. We can sympathize with Penguin a little bit, sure, but they never blur that line. He's a dick. He's a bad person.
He's a sociopath.
Yep. And yes, he can be kind to Vic, sure. Sociopaths and bad people can do that. All that kind of stuff. But it never blurs that line. He's a bad person. And now we know the full extent. Like before in this show, Chris, I thought he just turned her in because she was murdering people. No, she didn't.
I am not caught up. I had like
You're not caught up?
No, I had like 5 birthday parties from Friday to Sunday. And it was really annoying being like, I want to watch my show.
Well, my goodness, you are in
I'm really excited to watch this tonight.
for what could be, it might be the best episode of the season so far. And Penguin's
Dang,
not, well,
okay.
no, Penguin's in it, just not very much. It totally focuses
I
on
don't-
Sophia and
Yeah.
her and what led to her being an artist.
Good.
Yeah,
I love her.
I don't typically like the middle of the season flashbacks episode, but this was awesome.
You're all caught up?
Oh, yeah.
I'm always ahead of you on TV. What am I doing with my life?
Just
Shut
be
up.
ready, because Carmine Falcone is not being played by John Turturro anymore. It's being played by Mark Strong. Same character, just different
What?
actor playing
Yeah.
him now.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, so when you see him and it goes, something's
That's
off.
exciting.
That's what's off. Anyway.
I love Mark Strong.
All right, what's next?
Ellis says, "I recently rewatched Surf's Up, the animated Penguin
Oh my
movie
God.
with Shia LaBeouf. I gotta say, it's really great. If anyone hasn't seen it or it's been a while, I suggest checking out. When that movie came out, I was like kind of in my heyday of like surfing anyway. So I really appreciated not like the characters. It wasn't like, wow, that's just like me, bro. But it was just like the construction of the waves and how different like locations would have a different wave. It was really like you could tell they got into the science of it.
Dang.
And it was beautifully made. Maybe the animation doesn't hold up anymore. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was a great movie.
I saw it once. I will confess I didn't love it, but I don't remember disliking it either. Maybe I have to take your recommendation. Maybe I have to check it out again. It's been a long time
I
since I've
never
seen
watched
that.
that one.
All right,
There's
what's
so
next?
much Penguin content to consume.
I know.
Oh my God.
Double feature. Yeah.
Well, it could be
start
more
with
natural.
start with Penguin and then
And then
lighten it
Surf's
up.
Up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep. Good double feature.
Swanson Burgundy says no studio should hand full control to the director. 100% agree. Unless Spielberg, Scorsese, or Nolan disagree with you a little bit on that one, please keep them out of the editing room. Many of their most recent movies are great, but unnecessarily long. Well, they still have to be there in the editing bay.
Yeah, the director is always in the editing.
The editor and the director have a direct relationship.
Like unless a studio has taken a director
Right.
out of the
Yeah,
situation,
yeah.
which has happened before. Listen, that's one of my complaints about even some of my favorite directors, like Peter Jackson too. Like Peter Jackson, his King Kong movie is a 40% better film if you literally start watching King Kong, get about an hour into it right before they show up at Skull Island, and cut that entire first hour out. If that movie just started with they're approaching Skull Island, and then you fill in some of the gaps with a couple of quick little didactic pieces of dialogue there, I actually think that's a much better movie. Like some filmmakers think longer is better, but yeah, unfortunately, like the directors have to be there. The editors follow, like they take the vision of the director, and then they figure out the best way to bring that to life. But it's still under the direction of the director. So. All right, what's next?
I'm actually going to skip it on only because it's got a little spoiler-ish kind of stuff for Penguin. So we'll give that some time.
All
Sorry.
right.
Thanks. That's for me.
David Aaron says, Matthew Lillard tops my list of underrated actors, massive potential that hasn't been fully utilized by past roles of directors, and he's a wonderful person. With the right project, something dramatic yet offbeat like Fargo or I would love to see him in like a Fargo series
be
or a
so
film
good.
by the Daniels. I think he has serious awards potential.
He is such a gifted performer. I don't know that he has awards potential. I don't know that's a seriously high echelon, but I mean, he is such a great performer. I actually had the chance last year. A buddy of mine, Kyle Newman, directed a movie, and I was at the premiere of it. And before going in to take our seats, I'm standing in line to get popcorn, and I realize that the guy in front of me is Matthew, and he's there with his son. Which, that, by the way, that'll make you feel old when you see him, who you've watched, standing there with his teenage son. That suddenly is like, oh, that makes me feel a little bit old. But I had a chance to talk to him there in line because he's a friend of Kyle's as well. And just a delightful, funny guy. And then, again, you see him on screen. Like, granted, his roles have always been leaned into the more of the, what's the best word to define them? Like, over the top.
Eccentric.
Mm-hmm. Eccentric, thank you. Yes, that's the word. But he plays it with such passion, and he plays it, you tell he plays it to the audience. I would really like to see him in a lot more stuff.
I would love that. He is famous at cons for giving dad hugs.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many photos with fans of his just like giving him the biggest hug after they've experienced some kind of loss or grief or anything.
Yeah.
And each time he always apparently is just like, you give me the biggest fucking hug you possibly can. You just crush me, okay? You get in here.
If you haven't seen
him.
SLC Punk,
So
see
good.
it. Especially when that movie came out, that really spoke to my sensibilities at that time of my age. Even the way it concluded was like, yeah, I really get that. So, great movie.
That was formative in high school for me. Like, what? Oh my God.
All right, what's next?
Willoughby Sting says, does anyone remember the movie Southland Tales with Dwayne Johnson?
No.
No, for me, a bad movie that thinks it has a message but ends up without one. I bring it up because I watched Joker 2, and that was the movie I was reminded of, even down to the musical segment.
Huh. I don't know about that comparison. I guess it all depends on what your experience with each of the two movies are. I mean, by the way, I don't think it's great either. But comparing it to Joker 2, I don't know. I think it's a better film than Joker 2 is. Whatever. I don't see a lot of similarities there, to be honest with you. A little bit in tone. But yeah, I didn't think that was a bad movie. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was a bad movie. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Amin says, Silo Season 2 trailer finally dropped yesterday. Looks great. Did you see it? What did you think? Do you know what's going to happen? Like, have you read the books? I haven't, but I'm so excited to see where the story goes. Love Season 1. Is that Apple?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't read the books either.
really enjoyed Season 1.
Yeah.
And I always love it when Tim Robbins pops up in things as well. I think he's fantastic. But I enjoyed Season 1 so much. I have not read the books. I don't plan on reading the books. I didn't see the trailer yet. I just saw the headline that the trailer for Season 2 has dropped, and I've been waiting for it. But I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. You did see it?
Yeah, it looks really good.
What did you think of Season 1?
I loved Season 1. I loved it so much. It was a roller coaster in our house too, though, because Logan would be like, oh my God, this is so interesting. This is so interesting. Oh, screw this show. I hate all of this. But I loved it. I thought it was so wonderful. And the Season 2 first look looks really, really good. I'm really excited about where this is going to go.
I wonder if they'll cross it over with Fallout. She goes outside of the cell only to find the people from Fallout, and it's one big crossover.
Little vault dweller just pops out. Well, hi there, guys. Okie dokie. Let's go.
All right, what's next?
Amin says also Wild Robot is already available on digital, so I guess you can just watch it at home now. I guess if you rent it, though, it's not free streaming.
Yeah. So one of the big things is that there is still a gap, sometimes a really significant gap, between when a movie becomes available for home streaming, but that's if you purchase or rent it for like $25. Then there's a gap when it'll hit its streaming partners, like whether then it hits its Peacock or Disney Plus or whatever, right? So yeah, it's out there. I'm not spending $30 to rent. What is it? Deadpool and Wolverine? It's coming out. $30 to purchase, $25 to rent. I mean, I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I ain't renting it for $25. So I'll wait a little bit longer till it comes out in Disney Plus, and then I'll just watch it on there. All right, what's next?
So he also goes on to say, by the way, I didn't know it was based on a series of books. So happy to hear we're getting a sequel. Please let us know your thoughts on the film once you see it. That's about the Wild Robot.
I also at first didn't realize, it wasn't until after the film came out that people let me know it came from a series of books. I had never heard of it before. Had you guys heard of it before the movie?
I didn't know it was a series, but the books look really like beautiful artwork as well. I want to check them out.
I didn't know about it prior, but then I got turned on to him. I'm just so excited that Chris Sanders is having his day in the sun. He's great.
All right, what's next?
Harvest K says, hey team, the Wild Robot is really showing some decent box office legs and still expanding in foreign markets, so this movie should continue to do well, and Universal just kneecapped it with a PVOD release date, not even 3 weeks into its run. I don't know if that's the same, though, because you got to pay for them like we were just discussing, so...
Yeah, no, but again, it does emphasize that, first of all, the reality is Wild Robot is not doing great at the box office.
It's like 100-something.
It's made more than Transformers 1, but not a tremendous amount more. Like, it's made under $150 million so far.
Just under 149.
And that's fine, whatever. It still kind of re-emphasizes the systemic problem with the industry right now. When you put movies out and available for home streaming so close to when it's been in theaters or when it's still in theaters, it's only half the problem that you're kind of hurting the box office potential of that singular movie. The bigger problem is that you are hurting the industry as a whole. Because the more movies that start putting their movies out closer and closer and closer on streaming to when they've been in theaters, that just trains the audience and encourages the audience to go, oh, this new movie's coming out? I don't have to go see it because I know from the previous 8 movies that it's going to be available for me to just rent at home in probably 5 weeks. Or 4 weeks, or 3.5 weeks in some movies' cases. You are conditioning the audience more and more. Every time you put out for home streaming this close to the movies being in theater, you're just a studio picking up the megaphone saying, don't bother coming to our movies in theaters, where you make your real money, by the way. That's all they're doing. They're being, how's the saying go? Penny wise, dollar foolish. That's what they're doing. It's like, oh, we can make a few extra cents on home video, which, by the way, it is pennies to dollars. The money they make on home video is pennies compared to the dollars they make in studios. That's just a fact. And they're like, oh, well, we can make a few extra pennies here, not realizing that long term, they're killing their own industry. And again, which is part of the reason, like, I went off on this a while ago saying, you know what, maybe I shouldn't care anymore either. I'm the biggest theatrical experience fan you're ever going to find. Maybe I shouldn't care anymore. Maybe I should say, fuck the movies, fuck the movie industry. If you want to kill yourselves, if you want to kill yourselves, why should I cheer for you anymore? But yeah, it's a big problem. It's not just the problem with the one movie. It's the problem you're laying that's going to have negative repercussions for all movies coming out.
Because you train people now.
They're so stupid. Like, these movie executives today are such idiots. Anyway. All right, what's next?
All right. Matan says, I hope that Megalopolis and Joker Filet Doo won't be used by Hollywood executives to undermine the auteur theory, like Heaven's Gate back in the day. Respecting the auteur theory usually leads to better movies. Okay. The thing about Heaven's Gate, which starred the recently late Chris Christopherson, that almost bankrupted. That came out in 1980. That almost bankrupted United Artists, and it ruined Michael Cimino's like career. So I don't think that's a good example.
Listen, I think there is a balance, right? That's kind of what I've always tried to preach about this. There's a balance. Movie making in its best form, and to anything there's exceptions, but in its true best form is a collaborative effort. When tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line, you cannot give full autonomy. Again, there are rare exceptions, okay? I'm just saying, in general, you can't give full autonomy to one person. When there's nobody there, and this is what went wrong with the Star Wars prequels. George Lucas literally had nobody who could tell him no. Like, one of the things I love about the Star Wars prequels is the behind the scenes making of stuff on the DVDs. Amazing stuff. But one of the things you notice in those DVDs is everybody's job was just to say yes to George Lucas. That's it. George Lucas literally never had a single person that was in a position, because he financed the whole thing himself. There was not a single person in George Lucas's orbit that could say, hey, George, maybe this isn't a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And these are creatives.
I'm really good friends with somebody who worked with George Lucas at Lucasfilm during that era.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, everybody's role at Lucasfilm was George said something that he wants, and your job was not to challenge him or to offer better ideas. Your job was to just come up with a way to make what George just said happen. And even though the original Star Wars films were very much under his thing, he had more outside influences that could help reel him in a bit. And when you look at something like Kevin Costner's, which he financed a lot himself too. What was it called again?
Horizon.
Horizon. When you look at Megalopolis, when you look at Joker 2, when studios just cede full control and nobody has the option to say no,
yeah,
very bad things can happen, man. And again, I think there are exceptions. I think there are 100% exceptions, but it needs to be collaborative. You need to have people that can caution you. That's why even here, like when I have some kind of a big idea or something, before I do anything, the first thing I'll do is I'll come in and talk to like Jonathan and Ray and say, hey guys, I'm thinking about this. If you got any thoughts, let me know. Again, it's still my decision.
Yeah.
But you got to have people around you that have the potential to at least offer alternatives or some resistance. So, all right, what's next?
David says, I'm attending the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's induction ceremony this weekend. I'm excited.
Nice.
Dave Matthews Band, my second favorite band after Led Zeppelin, is getting inducted. Those are two, wow, very interesting.
Yeah.
Number 1 and 2. I believe Julia Roberts is inducting them as well. Easy to say. I'm uber excited.
You know what? I saw a commercial for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Is it Dave Matthews Band?
Rock and roll.
They belong in the Hall of Fame. Don't get me wrong. I just feel it's too early for them. I feel like, because I saw all the lists of the other names.
It's kind of weird how that works.
And they're all like a generation before the Dave Matthews Band. So it's kind of like one of these things is not like the other. It's like saying, coming into the Hall of Fame this year, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Elvis Presley, and Taylor Swift. It's like, what? I just feel like they're too young to be going into the Hall of Fame.
It's a weird situation, and there's a lot of people that feel strongly about
being in there.
Yeah, just feeling like it's kind of a disingenuous like organization and whatever. So some people feel that way, some don't. You know, I'm sure it's a fun show though. So
like how some people feel about the Hollywood stars. They're like, well, that was purchased.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Getting mine next week. Mike Rashetta says, hey, John and crew, we watched TikTok Boom the other night. Oh, Tick Tick Boom. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know why my brain said TikTok, but Tick Tick Boom the other night. And man, Andrew Garfield should have won the Oscar that year for his performance over Will Smith. Slap drama aside, looking at Social Network, Silence, Hacksaw Ridge, his scope as an actor is wild.
He is incredible. I've argued for years he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in The Social Network. He was the heartbeat of that movie. I don't think he should have won for Tick Tick Boom, but he was magnificent in it. He was so good in Hacksaw Ridge. So good in Hacksaw Ridge. This guy, like, unfortunately, I mean, no, it's fine that we look at him and just see Spider-Man because that's the biggest thing he's ever done. But he is a phenomenal, he's an Oscar level actor. He's a pure, and then there's that one movie where he played the guy, I can't remember the name of the condition that he had. And, anybody else know the one I'm talking about where he was like, fell in love, but then he ended up being bedridden. It's a true story.
No,
it wasn't Silence. No. I don't know if anybody. What was the name of that damn movie? He was so good in it. Anyway, somebody in the live chat.
Are you thinking of, because it's not he's bedridden, but the movie Never Let Me Go?
Maybe.
Because that's it's a beautiful book and a beautiful film, but heartbreaking because it's
It
about
might
people
be
being
Theory
like,
of Everything. It might be the Theory of. Let me
Isn't that
bring
Eddie
it
No,
up.
that's Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one was Eddie.
Yeah.
What's it called? Oh, it might be Breathe.
Okay.
Never Let Me Go. was
Never
one-
Let Me
Yes,
Go
the
was-
one he did with Claire Foy.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
that's the one.
Was it that-
Inspiring true love story of Robin and Diana Cavendish, an adventurous couple who refuse to give up in the face of a devastating disease. And like anyway, it's a brilliant film. His performance is fantastic. Andrew Garfield is awesome. Anyway, what's your favorite Andrew Garfield performance?
Ooh, probably Tick, Tick, Boom. He's so good in
that.
it. He's so wonderful. And honestly, it's a stage show that people tried to adapt after, the passing of the creator and everything. And it never kind of really like worked because it was a one-man show with a few people in it. And that film does such a beautiful job making that make sense.
I think one of my favorite scenes to just go back and watch on YouTube every once in a while is the one with who is the girl from High School Musical? That is
Vanessa Hudgens.
Vanessa Hudgens. That whole scene. I feel bad
Therapy,
that
yeah.
you feel bad, and the two of them, they're dynamic in that whole scene. If you haven't seen that scene, just watch it on YouTube. It's amazing.
Oh wow, he played Jim Baker in a movie called The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Yes,
Yeah.
with
I'm pulling it up right now, but
She
of course
was-
my
Jessica
internet's
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Who I think Jessica got nominated for an Academy Award for that as well.
She's
Yeah,
phenomenal in that. They're all
he's
great in
so
that.
good.
He's so good.
He's so good.
He's so great about everything. Every time he pops up in interviews talking about grief, it is the most beautiful and profound stuff ever. He's circulating again right now because he has an interview where he's reading a modern love essay and it just really moves him. I just love that guy.
Yeah, he's so good. All right, what's next?
All right. He sat behind me at a ArcLight Theater one time. Regarding Krypto, I think it's a great idea. I love dogs. I think it's a great idea. Cute animals are James Gunn's specialty. Rocket, Cosmo, Eagly.
That's true. Yeah.
I think he'll be cute for comedic relief if Gunn we trust.
Okay, again, I trust Gunn.
Yeah, we're not trying to crap on
I'm
it.
not trying to crap on it. I'm just saying I would be disingenuous. I'd be lying if I didn't say it concerns me a little. But you're right. Gunn's track record of using animal characters has been phenomenal.
Ultimately, he knows the tone of the film he's
Yeah.
making. So, you know.
So I mean, there's definitely a lot of upside. If it's used well, it could be great. If it's not used well, it could be very disastrous. But we'll see. All right, what's next?
Mega Red with a two-parter. My Spooktober watch list so far. The Witch, first Eggers movie I've seen, and I loved it. Innocent is gonna be a great as Galactus. Nightmare Before Christmas. First time watching, and I thought it was cute. Taxi Driver. That's eerie. Anyway, it says eerie. Couldn't help but think of Joker.
Who was influenced by that? That and King of Comedy.
Yeah. Taxi Driver was especially scary to me. There's a lot of unstable people like Travis out there. Spending 2 hours in his mind was draining. Such an interesting movie, though. What did you think when you first watched it? Next up is The Lighthouse.
Well, I mean, the first time I watched it, I was way too young to appreciate it. And then I saw it later on, and I thought it was great. The best one, though, was actually I told the story recently, but a few years ago, I got to fly to New York to go to a special anniversary screening of it at the Directors Guild with Martin Scorsese.
Ooh.
And this is the one where the reason I went was because I was supposed to be doing an interview with Martin Scorsese right after the screening. And I hate flying and I don't like New York. And
Why not?
oh, you've not heard me? No, I
Okay.
don't like New York.
We don't need to.
Anyway, I actually turned down a television show because it required me to go to New York twice a month. Anyway, and I'll tell you that story later. But
I'd
so
be like, put me on the plane now. I'll
me
be in
and Dennis
cargo.
Zen literally got on the plane, flew 5 hours to New York, got off the plane, turned on our phones to read Martin had to cancel the interview. So we had flown all the way to New York. So I still went to the screening, still had a good time. But that was a profound, being able to watch Taxi Driver with Martin Scorsese was like, that was really cool. That was cool. All right, what's next?
That's awesome.
Let's see. Logan Vaughn says, I could see James Gunn going for the Turner and Hooch style of comedy with Krypto. I think that chaotic energy would be hilarious in a superpowered dog. There's also the baked-in tragic ending too. Either way, I'm sold on Gunn's vision for Krypto.
Yeah, I don't think I saw some people in the live chat expressing some concern, like this dog better not talk. I don't think we're going to have a talking Krypto. I don't think that's what we're going to get. And again, I don't even think we're going to have a lot of Krypto in it. I think Krypto's going to be in a couple of scenes, and I don't think he's going to be a pivotal character in the plot of the movie or anything. And just again, hopefully it turns out well. All right, what's next?
Hot Rod Todd says, "Hey Chris, what do you think about the amazing digital circus getting not only distribution rights to Netflix, but also becoming the first show to be the first show to be the most watched on YouTube and Netflix at the same time? Hooray for indie animators." You have anything to add to that?
Hooray for indie animators. I am just now looking up the amazing digital circus. This is not something that I've been watching or aware of. So thank you. I'll go check it out.
There you go.
All right, what's next?
Quadface Cowboy says, "Hey cousins, it's Quadface. My dad is a major Superman fan, including Krypto. This is exciting. I can't wait to smoke one and chat with him about this. Also, any choices on Halloween costumes yet?"
Ooh.
You and Ann kind of always...
Yeah, you all are a well-oiled machine with like 6 options.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's more Anne's doing than mine. Like, Anne is super into cosplay. She has her own Instagram about it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, when Halloween comes around, okay, it's always the same thing. June hits, and she's like, "We need to start planning our Halloween costumes." I'm like, "Baby, it's June." Yeah, and okay, so, and it's not just one. It needs to be multiple. So we'll go to several Halloween parties in the year, and we have to have a different costume every year. This year, the only costume I've gotten, and Anne's been busy, so I think she might only have one this year too, but no, she's got several. But anyway, because Anne's traveled to Paris and all this kind of stuff. We are doing, I am Deadpool and she is Wolverine.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So there's my mask. I got the outfit and everything. Now, that is not an original idea. I know there are going to be hundreds of thousands of other couples who are going out as Deadpool
Just
and Wolverine.
like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just, yeah, we'll all be different variants. So it's not terribly original. We get that. But we love Deadpool and Wolverine, so that's going to be our main couple costume this year is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Nice.
Do you guys have costumes yet?
We're not sure. Well, yes, last year we had to not do our costume because of the stupid strike rule that was like, you're a scab if you wear a Halloween costume.
I forgot about
the
that.
dumbest thing in the world. I vehemently disagreed with that. But we were going to be Kaylee and Wash from Firefly.
I love that.
And so we still have those costumes, so we figure we'll do that because right now we're at, I think, 4 parties and counting. So we figure we'll do that. And then we were thinking of maybe doing like Lucy and Cooper from Fallout. Basically, I just want to wear jumpsuits. That's my plan.
You would make a great Lucy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We both have eyes that can see behind us. So, you know. Works out nice. That's the first thing Logan said when we were watching the show. I was like, I don't think my eyes are as big as hers. And he was like, are you kidding me? You don't have peripheral vision. You just have 360.
Yeah. You're like an owl camera.
Yeah.
What's next? Oh, by the way, I forgot this too. That movie Breathe that Andrew Garfield did with Claire Foy. Andy Serkis was the director of that.
Really?
Yeah, it's really
I
good.
definitely have to check that out.
You're really, really good. Okay, what's next?
Anish Capiche. Krypto doesn't talk in the comics. I think that was only for the Super Pets movie, the comic book that the new Supergirl movie is based off. Krypto does get hurt by a villain, and it does motivate Kara, but it's not the central reason Kara is on her quest.
Wasn't there also one where there was like a council of the Super Pets? Like I remember something in the comics like this big like almost like judges semicircular table where all the Super Pets were and they were like passing judgment on people and they spoke. I can't remember. I am not a crypto historian, so I don't know, but I hope you're right. All right, what's next?
That was after those edibles that Anne gave you.
Yes, it was after some heavy edibles.
Marcus says, I think the last episode of Penguin is the first time I've ever needed a trigger warning. Those Arkham scenes were so anxiety-inducing. They should be. From the moment the cops pick arrest her, it just escalates. Thought I was going to be sick.
Oh.
Yeah,
There's no eye violence.
Listen,
Thank you.
It could have been much more graphic.
Yeah.
Like they actually very specifically left a lot to the imagination and just suggestion, but it was still very disturbing.
Just like Arkham, though, you do get this feeling like you're going into a dungeon and you're just in this cell that you will never see light of day again. You know?
Again, what they did such a great job of convincing me that this Sophia we see from 10 years ago becomes the Sophia we have now through that Arkham experience. It was such a good episode. Such a good episode. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Ron H says, doubt there will be much of a market for this, but I kind of miss those TNA comedies. I think a lot of people go to Porky's, but I always had a thing for a film called Spring Break. I think I've seen Spring Break. And, of course, Bachelor Party. That was Tom Hanks. Do you have any of those old TNA faves?
There used to be a huge amount of them. Like everything.
I mean, Revenge of the Nerds could almost be
Revenge of the Nerds definitely falls in there. Meatballs.
Yeah.
Remember that one? Falls in there. I mean, it was like a whole subgenre unto itself for a long time.
Would you count Fast Times in there?
Yeah.
Maybe it
That's
has
an elevated
tone,
one.
but it came out of that with
Yeah.
an 80s twist. It was part of that 70s kind of sexual revolution, like this stuff, like let's get it on kind of thing. But it was a different time. You know.
I mean, they have been trying to resurrect the raunchy comedies lately. Again, things like with Bottoms and Joyride, which again, guys, Joyride is the best comedy made in ages.
Yeah.
Make sure you watch Joyride. They're trying to resurrect them a lot, so hopefully they have a strong comeback. All right, what's next?
We got some members here. Evan Coburn says, I know this happened months ago, but when Jonathan said Muse should be the Highlander soundtrack, he became my favorite John Campea Show member. They were those who I thought of first.
Man, the soundtrack to that first Highlander movie is so good. Of course, it's Queen, but I mean, I guess it depends on the tone of the movie. If it should be Muse or anybody else.
Right.
All right, what's next?
All right, Pat for President says the second episode. I forgot about Matlock. We hyped up that first episode so much. The second episode of Matlock comes on Thursday. I'm excited to looking forward to it. I love how it's its own show, and I love the twists and turns. Kathy Bates is awesome as the series lead. Are you looking forward to episode 2? And what are some hopes that you have for Matlock? Why is it so far apart?
I know that's becoming a thing. A few shows have been doing that. Like to some degree, even Penguin did that. They launched the show, and then the second episode didn't come out for like a week and a half. Actually, more than a week and a half. And then so Matlock did its big series premiere, and then you had to wait 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks for the second episode. So I don't know, like whether it was an idea, like maybe we're going to try this to try to build energy and momentum, and I don't know. All I know is that I was very pleasantly surprised by how good that first episode was. It left me wanting more. It sets up the show brilliantly. It's a great twist at the end. This is the first CBS show that I've been anxious to watch. God, I can't remember the last time there was a CBS show that I've been really excited to watch. I honestly can't remember. But this was really good, and I can't wait to watch episode 2. All right, what's next?
All right, we got King Daddy Goat. Hey, John and Crew saw Speak No Evil last night. I actually liked it better than the Danish version. Kudos to you for seeing both. From a few years ago, McAvoy is amazing per usual. Have you guys seen it? I saw it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was late to the party on it. I thought it was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Now, I never saw the Danish version. I just heard a lot of the controversy about how the ending is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I know is that I really like the ending.
I enjoyed it. I know there was some complaints about some just like poor character decisions. I really only think there's one unconscionably bad decision, but I've never had someone actively trying to murder me and my family. I might not be thinking straight either. So,
and by the way, everybody's talking about James McAvoy, and well, they should. But Scoot McNairy, I thought was really good in it. Mackenzie Davis was really good in it.
Even the daughter.
Yeah, it's a good look. I'm not saying it's going to be a top 5 movie of the year for me. It's not, but I really quite enjoyed it. All right, what's next?
Okay, Patrick says I'm recovering from knee surgery, and I decided to rewatch.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I decided to rewatch Mike Flanagan's stuff like Midnight Mass, Gerald's Game, and Hill House. I think he might be one of my favorite writers-directors. So excited for the life of Chuck. What are your thoughts on him? I love Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game.
That was one of those where it was like, okay, Netflix can do some good stuff.
Was Gerald's Game a Netflix movie?
That was on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I know I didn't see it in theaters, but I thought it was a theatrical film first. Gerald's Game is just a movie that took a turn that I was not expecting it to take. And that's often a good thing. I guess the promise of that film, well, first of all, I love Bruce Greenwood, right? So when I saw that he was in it, I was actually kind of excited about it. But a survival thriller, I didn't quite love the supernatural turn the movie took, but it's still quite good. It's still really good. As far as Flanagan goes, I mean, the dude's on a hot streak right now. There's no doubt about it. I would like to see him expand into other. He wasn't behind The House of Usher, was he?
Yeah, isn't that him?
Did he do House of Usher as well?
I feel like it was.
I was going to say, I don't think it's him, but it certainly feels like him.
I'm
But
pretty
maybe
sure
it felt like him because it was him. I like the House of Usher too. But yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how he progresses over the next couple of years.
Sure.
But I would like to see him get outside of his sandbox, right? I'm just, he's becoming a one-trick pony in a way, although all the tricks have been really good so far, and I'm enjoying them. But I would like to see him see if he can expand outside of that and do more, but it'll be interesting. All right, what's next?
Mighty Tank says, hey, crew, who is your favorite Simpsons side character? Mine would be the mayor, Adam West, his mayor.
He's not Simpsons. That's
oh wait,
Family Guy.
you're thinking of Family Guy.
Yeah, that's right, Family Guy.
I think only because I've known so many in my life. Comic book guy.
Oh yeah,
That's fair.
You clearly did not read issue 74 of like I've just known so many of them that I've hung out with in my life. So comic book guys right up there. I've always liked Mo as well, but
Mo's great. Like Mo.
oh, and a Pooh.
Who's fun? I like Nelson.
Nelson's great.
I like Nelson a
But
lot.
one of the hardest I have ever laughed in any episode of Simpsons, and say what you will about the quality level of Simpsons the last bunch of years, Simpsons has had some all-time funny stuff. And I just remember this one of my hardest laughs ever from The Simpsons is I can't remember what was going on in Springfield, but there was chaos going on.
yeah.
And somebody pulls up to the Quickie Mart and Apu's on the roof and he fires a shotgun at them. And his classic line, "Thank you, come again." Like he says, "Thank you, burn in hell." And it's just, I don't know why. Made me laugh my ass off.
Did you guys did you guys ever watch My Name is Earl?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
One of the things I loved about My Name is Earl is it became a Simpson-esque sort of thing where you had these side characters building throughout the season.
That's a great point.
Joe Howland says, "Hey, John and crew, how is your day going? My quest. What's wrong with me? Question is, when do you think we will get an actual trailer for Alien Earth?"
My standard answer for when will we get a trailer for is always, I don't care. It's a commercial. Don't get me wrong, I'll definitely be excited when the commercial drops, but it's still just a commercial. When does Alien Earth come out?
Let's find out.
I don't think it's for a while. I know they put out the first, image of it. They gave that kind of little tease where you see like Earth and the reflection of the alien skull.
First half of 2025. So
yeah, so we don't even have a release date for it yet. So, I mean, it could literally still be 6-7 months away. So I honestly, I don't know. I don't care. When it drops, it'll have my attention. You know what's funny? It wouldn't have had my attention if it wasn't for Alien Romulus. I had given up on the Alien franchise. I really had. And then Alien Romulus has totally reignited my excitement for it. And now and it's Noah Hawley doing it. The guy who did Legion. And the guy who was going to do a Doctor Doom movie for Fox until Disney bought Fox and canceled the project.
All right, that makes me a little more excited.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. All right, one last question today. What's next?
Let's see. Okay, Rob Buck says, referring to the question I sent in on Friday regarding Voltron, I was talking about Power Rangers as a franchise. Hope it's given new life, even if it means a reboot a few years from now. That's going to be a tough one.
I remember, I don't know how Voltron gives Power Rangers new life. I don't see the connection.
Because they assemble.
It kind of they live in that same world of like Power Rangers, Gundam, all of that, where it's mechs being controlled by people. I think.
Sure.
I feel like that's.
But
I
here's
get
the
you,
thing.
Rob. Hi, buddy.
Voltron has never gotten a live action thing.
No, but their DreamWorks animated series was so kick-ass.
Yes.
It was
Oh,
so
very
good.
good.
Highly recommend.
I always like
But-
Voltron more than
But Power Rangers
I didn't like Power Rangers.
have had live action. And a matter of fact, they just had a movie not long ago.
Yeah.
A movie that I actually didn't think was all that bad.
Yeah.
No.
I was surprised. I poo-pooed on the idea of the movie, and then I saw, I'm like, you know what? This wasn't half bad. But even as a not half bad movie, nobody went to go see it. I just don't see how Voltron, like, you know what Voltron doing great might do? It might increase the chances for a Robotech. It might increase the chances for a Grandizer. That's kind of more in the same lane. I just don't see how. And by the way, I don't see how Voltron flopping, if it does, hurts the chances for a future Power Rangers thing. I just don't see how its fate is would be at all connected to Power Rangers. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank Jonathan Voico,
Goodbye there.
Chris Carr.
Bye, guys.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.